Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about the 5 things I wish I knew before being induced. Now before I get into these 5 things, I just want to let you know I am not a healthcare professional, I am not a doctor. These are just things I learned from my experience and my own research that I want to share with you guys. So let's jump right into the 5 things I wish I knew before being induced. So the first thing I did not know is the reasons you could be induced. So I was asking my doctor like, hey, look, when I'm full term, I want to be induced. I'm ready to get this baby out. I was just so done by the end of my pregnancy. Knowing what I know now, I know that that is not a good idea. That is not something you want to do. That is not something that the hospitals do. So the reasons you are induced is if the baby is at risk or if you are at risk. My doctor did tell me that sometimes they do make exceptions, like if somebody has a military spouse who's out of town and can't be there, they might schedule an induction, but the doctor will tell you when you are able to be induced. Once the doctor knew that I was all the way up to my due date, she scheduled an induction. So I was induced at 40 weeks and 3 days. But this may depend on your doctor, what your doctor wants to do, what your doctor thinks is safe. So the reason that doctors usually induce your labor at 40 weeks is because after 40 weeks, the placenta might not deliver as much oxygen to the baby, and the baby also starts to grow really rapidly after 40 weeks, which can make your delivery a lot harder. The reason I was induced was because I was past my due date and the doctor didn't want the baby to grow too fast. It's a lot harder to push the baby out when they're bigger. And my baby weighed 8 pounds and 12 ounces. So from what I know, doctors will not consider inducing you unless you are full term, and full term is 37 weeks to 42 weeks. Anything past 42 weeks is considered past term, and at that point, they really got to get the baby out. A lot of people choose to not be induced because they want their baby to come naturally. They want to feel the contractions starting. They want their baby to decide the timing of coming out. Personally, that was not my preference. I wanted to have the baby out as soon as possible before she got too big. I wanted to get her out before the placenta started deteriorating and not giving her as much oxygen. And I was just kind of done with being pregnant. Also, my fiance and I are in a long distance relationship, and I was kind of worried that my labor would start while he was up north and not be able to make it down for the delivery. So those are my reasons for wanting to be induced. Number 2, I want to talk about what they might give you if you are induced. So the first thing that they gave me was the pitocin. So the pitocin is a hormone that makes your uterus contract. Obviously, when you have contractions, it means the baby is being pushed out, your body is contracting, and the baby starts to move out. Now, if you have not checked out my labor and delivery vlog, I will link that above so you can go ahead and check that out because I do talk about the pitocin in that video, and you can also see my whole labor and delivery. Another thing they might do is do a membrane sweep. What they do is they insert a couple fingers up your vagina and they just sweep around. Now, if you're like me, I have a really hard time with the invasiveness of that, and I did have an epidural. So by the time they did my membrane sweep, I had already had the epidural, and so I could not feel it. That was really helpful, especially if you are someone like me and is very uncomfortable with that invasiveness. Now, also on a side note, I want to mention if you are induced, it is very invasive. They're gonna put their fingers up you and check how dilated you are. I personally have a really hard time with this. I find it extremely uncomfortable, but after I had the epidural, that helped me a lot. So if you are like me, I highly recommend getting an epidural. Definitely do your research and talk to your doctor about it before making that decision. But me personally, I am very uncomfortable with things like that, and so it was a big blessing to have that epidural. Which also brings me to another thing that they do to induce your labor, which is they will rupture your amniotic sac. So basically what this is they break your water, and what they do is they will get a plastic long hook and they will insert it up you and they will snap the sac, and then it will release all the water. I can't really talk about how it felt because I, again, had an epidural and I could not feel it. I did kind of feel the water rush out when they did it, and it was kind of an odd feeling. Obviously, I couldn't feel anything, any kind of pain from my waist down. Another thing they might do is give you prostaglandin, and so that will help soften the cervix, which makes it easier for the baby to come out. Now, don't quote me on this because I cannot say for sure if I had this, but I'm pretty sure they gave it to me while I was induced. Now, the 4th thing I wish I knew before being induced is that you will be there for a while. It takes a long time. I don't know how long it would take everyone else, but I thought I was gonna get in there in the morning and I would have a baby within a few hours, and that did not happen. So the morning I was going to be induced, I had to check in at 11 a.m. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna have a baby by like 3 o'clock, and then people are gonna come visit all night. That did not happen whatsoever. So I had gotten all ready. I had done my makeup, my hair. I was in my cute outfit to walk into the hospital. I'm thinking, okay, we're gonna have this baby right now. And that was not the case. So it might take a while. They do the medications very slowly to make sure your baby is comfortable. They gave me pitocin first, and they give it to you every 4 hours. At least they gave it to me every 4 hours, just to make sure that they were doing it slowly and that your baby was comfortable. And actually I was having too many contractions before the baby was ready to come out and before the cervix was softened. So she was basically just like hitting her head and not able to come out, which was very uncomfortable for her. So it took a while longer. So I didn't have her till the next evening. So it took probably around 36 hours, which was a long time to be in there. I was there overnight. So just be warned that you might be there for a while. Bring everything you might need, like bring your pillow, bring your phone charger, bring your water bottle, anything you might need to be extra comfortable, because you might be there for a while like I was. Now also, if you have a partner going with you or anybody who is going to be in the labor and delivery room with you, make sure they are comfortable too. For my fiance, I got him a giant blanket from Costco, so he was able to sleep in. I mean, who honestly likes being in the hospital? So bring your maternity pillow if you have one, bring your favorite blanket if you have one, and then bring stuff for the people who are going to be around you. Bring snacks for them because they get hungry at night after the cafeteria closes. Bring water for them. Make sure they have their phone chargers. Just make sure everybody is prepared to be there for a while, because you might be there for a day or two. Personally, I had my mom and my fiance in the labor and delivery room with me. My mom went home overnight so that she could sleep, since they were saying it was really unlikely that the baby would be coming that night. And obviously she was a phone call away, so if something did happen, she was able to get down to the hospital within a few minutes. Now, my fifth thing I wish I knew, and I know this is kind of a silly one, but honestly for me this is really important, is that you might not be able to eat. So because of the medications, and especially the epidural, they do not let you eat after a certain point. So just make sure before you go in, if you want to eat something, if you think you're going to be hungry, get your last meal in before you go. They will give you popsicles and Jello, at least my hospital did. Now, they did say you could bring hard candies like Jolly Ranchers that you can suck on if you really need to have something. But that was something that was super frustrating for me, and I really wish I would have known that I would not be able to eat when I was in there. So make sure if you're going to go in, be mentally prepared for that. Eat before you go in. Bring hard candies if you feel like you're going to need to suck on something. Ask for popsicles and Jello if you need. But yeah, that was something I had a really hard time with for some reason, and they did have a full meal ready for me right after I gave birth, which I was like the most hungry I'd ever been. I hadn't eaten in like a day. I'd gone through labor and delivery, which was extremely hard on my body. It takes a lot to push a baby out. Just make sure if you want somebody to bring you something too right after you give birth, if you want something special like a hamburger or something, you can have somebody go pick that up for you and they can bring it into the hospital. But you will be very hungry after you give birth, and that was something I did not realize. All right, guys, those are the 5 things I wish I would have known before being induced. Please go ahead and give this video a thumbs up if you want to see more videos like this. It really helps me to keep making videos for you guys, and it also helps me know what kind of videos you enjoy watching. If you have any ideas for me, go ahead and put them in the comments below. Also, please let me know how you guys are doing, especially with the virus going on. I'd really like to hear what my fellow moms are up to. It's a very difficult and interesting time. We have never experienced anything like this in our lifetime, so just go ahead and let me know what you guys are up to, what you're doing, and I will see you next week with a new video. Thank you.